And so we're gonna see if it works. Do you know if
I don't know.
did they get on or?
I have no idea.
Okay, if not, then we'll be all set anyways. So, just act like the camera's not here, okay, that's what they always tell you. Just don't look at it, act like it's not there, but we'll be good. So, prayer request. Anybody have a prayer request? I got a couple of messages from Forrest this morning. He wanted to say thank you again to everybody who's been praying for the family, and those who've done anything. He said it's been a blessing, and he's grateful. Right now, the prayer request is that Jennifer will be able to change her own bandages. If she can do that without a whole lot of pain medication, then they get to go home. And so he said that is a huge thing right now. So pray that they'll be able to take care of that situation so they can get home, because I'm sure that they are ready to get to a place other than a hospital. I know I would be by now. So just continue to pray for that in their situation. And any other prayer requests? Yes,
Did you pick Mike Martino?
that's right.
Happy surgery.
Surgery went well, they're still just waiting to make sure they can do things.
We were following that the other night. They were putting stuff on Facebook that he was having a surgery, and so it's great. Make sure there's anything else.
Unspoken.
Unspoken, sure. All right. And a full class today. It's exciting. Does that mean that summer's almost over? Everybody's starting to come back from vacations and trips, and as good as that is, right? It's kind of one of those toss-ups. It's, yay, summer's almost over because it's back to a normal routine, but boo, summer's almost over because no more fun. All right. I think we got more coming in, maybe.
Well, let me give you a praise item.
Yes.
We managed to get there and back safely on vacation, and we didn't kill each other either.
Wow. Hey, that is a praise report.
Can you imagine 4 adults in a Toyota Corolla for somewhere in excess of 1,000 miles?
Wow. Man. If you wouldn't have told me you were in a Toyota, I thought you were all in one accord. But thank you. So that's the kind of stuff you got to look forward to.
Gotta work on your jokes here.
I know. I'm getting there. I've been told I'm the king of the dad
Did you put a
jokes.
target on the podium?
Yeah, you're known for that too, so
Yeah.
I've heard those stories. All right, any other requests, and then we'll get going. Yes, sir.
Prayer question was Adam.
Alan?
Adam.
Alan, I'm sorry.
We're going through a lot right now. Prayer question.
Sure. All right. And let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this morning, Lord. We thank you for the time that we can come to class. Lord, I thank you for those that are here. And Lord, I thank you for those that think it's important to come to Sunday school. God, it is a great time to be able to come and to study your word and study more of what you have for us, God. And Lord, we thank you for the fact that we can bring our requests to you. Lord, there have been many requests given, and Lord, we continue to pray for the Blackwood family, and Lord, the good updates that have been coming in, that they could possibly be going home soon. We just ask that you'd help Jennifer with her pain, and Lord, that she would be able to change the bandages there. God, we ask that you would help that situation, and just to give her the strength she needs, the comfort, Lord, to be able to do that. And then for them, as they make the adjustment to go to a new place to live, God, we ask that you would just help them, and with the transition it's going to be, just continue to give them the strength that they need. Lord, we think of with Mike Martino right now, as he has had the surgery for a kidney, for the transplant. And God, we ask that you would just help it to take and help it to adapt to his body, his internal organs there that it has to go to. God, we ask that you would help it to blend itself, and that everything would go smooth. Lord, that way there's no repercussions, and he can get back to doing what he wants to do, what he needs to do. Lord, he can get back to church where we know he wants to be. And God, we just ask that you'd reach down and to heal and to bless in that situation. Lord, we think of the unspoken requests. Lord, we ask that you would be with those. As there's probably one with every single person in the room right now, God. And Lord, we know that you know that. And while we may not want to talk about it with a lot of people, God, we know that the main person who knows about it is you. And we know that you can meet that need in a way that only you can, God. And we ask that you would be with Alan. We ask that you would help him as he's got some things going on right now in his life. And Lord, we ask that you would just give him wisdom that he needs to get through it. Lord, if it's a physical problem, Lord, we ask that you give him the strength to deal with it. And Lord, we ask that you just give us a good day in class today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Real quick question. We are starting a new set of lessons for this week, starting this week, but I don't have any books yet. Okay, so we've got pros and cons. Pros, we've got the new lesson. The con is I don't have the book yet, but I need to know how many to order. Okay, so Brother Cadner wanted me to know how many orders. So if you would like a book, could you raise your hand so I know what we've got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, at least 12, 14. Okay, so I told him 15, so that would be spot on. Good deal. Thank you. So we're going to go through the lesson today, and next week we'll have review, or if you have paper you want to write down. Everything's going to have the blanks underlined for it. So either way is fine. We'll go back over it next week. We may not get through all of it. It's very lengthy. So next week we can review and get all everything for the book there for you. Just a couple announcements that we have. And sometime today there's going to be a nursery meeting. If you currently work in the nursery, or you would like to work in the nursery, or if you're the mother of someone in the nursery. Okay, so basically, if you're a lady, you can have a meeting sometime. Preacher will make an announcement in the auditorium, so just be listening for that. And then in 3 weeks, roughly 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, is our Teen Youth Conference. We're going to be having that here July 24th and 25th. So it's not just for teenagers, as Preacher said several times. It's not just for teenagers. Everybody's invited. That Tuesday night will be our midweek service. So we ask if you could make plans to come, then you should be here for that. It's going to be a great time, good preaching, and a good time to come out to church. I think that's it. Any other announcements, ideas, thoughts? No. Okay. If you have your Bible, turn to 1 Corinthians. See the scripture there? I haven't got the scripture inputted onto here yet, so we're taking baby steps, all right? This is new for me. In fact, I didn't even put this together because it's that new to me. Okay, so just bear with me as we go through it. But 1 Corinthians chapter 3, we're going to start, our new lessons are called Striving Together. Okay, Striving Together. And the title underneath that is What Teamwork Looks Like in the Local Church. Okay, so what teamwork looks like. There's nothing that's more important to church ministry work than teamwork. Just like anything else that's going to be successful, you have to learn to work together. Okay, if you have a job, you most likely work with somebody. If you work with somebody, you've got to learn how to work together. Unless you have a job where you only work by yourself and that's all you do. But you've got to learn to deal with people. You've got to learn how to get this thing of teamwork together. And so we've got, I think there's 13 lessons in this book. So we'll just go through them as we need to. If we need to take a little bit longer on some, we will. If it's going to be a short lesson, then we'll do what we can for that. But we've got this idea of striving together. The first lesson is striving in ministry. And, of course, it's not going to work today. There we go. Striving in ministry. So we're going to talk about, okay. So as an introduction, this term striving together, we think about this, striving together in ministry. But what is striving together? Striving together implies a cooperative team spirit working towards a common goal.
Yep.
Okay, so if we say we're striving together, that means that we have an end goal and we know what that goal is, and we're going to do our best to get to that goal. If you have seen any sports team, doesn't matter what team it is, it could be the best team, it could be the worst team. Going into the season, they all have a goal. That goal is to win whatever that final game is, whether it's the Super Bowl, whether it's the World Series, whether it's an NBA championship. That's the goal. If you find someone who's a competitive swimmer, their end goal is probably an Olympic medal. Gold, everybody wants. They strive for something. You have something you shoot at. If you work a job, as we talked about, you have a goal. At the end of the job, you want to be as far as you can in that job. That's how we are. That's the striving factor. If you're not like that, then there's got to be something that drives you. Okay, whether it's an end result or whether it's your family. I know people who they say, I hate my job, but I've got to strive for my family. Okay, that's your end result. Your end result is that you want to take care of your family. And you want to do that by a means, and you have a common goal. Spiritually, as we can use this to set the goal of advancing the gospel. Okay, so as a church, our goal that we strive together, that we all come together. It's not the New Life Bible class against this class. It's not the New Life Bible class against this class or this ministry. We're supposed to strive together. We say, hey, we are one church. We are not just this class. We are Liberty Baptist Church. Okay, and together we have a common goal, and that goal is to get the gospel out. It's not us against the A-Bears. We're partners with the A-Bears to spread the gospel. Okay, I can't go to Canada. I could, but it's going to take a while. And they're already almost there. So why should I say, well, I can probably do it different, so I'm going to do it on my own way? Why? I'm going to say, hey, we're striving together. I'm going to partner with them so they can go and represent and spread the gospel. It's just like that with any other missionary. And it's just like that. We should all be together. Okay, we should be a strong cord. They say that you can take a cord, and if you pull one little strand, you can break that. That'll be easy. But if we work together and you roll that strand and you put 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 strands together, it comes where you can pull it, and nothing's going to happen. There's not going to be a break there. There's not going to be a tear. It's going to be hard to take apart. And that's the idea of this thing of striving together. Someone once said a slogan I've heard before, but teamwork makes the dream work. We've all heard it. We say it. It sounds funny. We use it as a cliche. Teamwork makes the dream work. And if we really apply that, though, the truth is in that. Great. If we all work together, we can accomplish a goal. There's only so much things that I can do by myself. There's only so many things that you can do by yourself. But together, we can do it. It's the old saying, 2 heads are better than one. Okay, I can come up with a lot of ideas, but if you put my ideas with someone else's ideas, we may come up with one good idea. And so the idea is we want to work together. Now, on the same side, teamwork makes the dream work. I said this is good but not accurate for the church. The church in Corinth and even some other churches today, they were striving against each other. And we'll get into that. As you stop and think about that, we want to work together, but there are some people we will not work with. Okay, so before we get the idea of, oh, let's just all join hands and let's all just get along with each other, okay? That's great, but there are some people we don't want to associate with. So please don't go out here and say, Brother Johnson, we need to go out and reach everybody. Let's all work together. Well, let's make sure we're all in one accord there, one like mind, striving together. We see here that Paul gives a few lessons of how to strive together and some points here. So number one, we're going to see the mistake of competitiveness in the ministry. If you read chapter 3 there, 1 Corinthians, we'll get into our text here. Chapter 3, 1 Corinthians, and we'll start in verse number 1, even though it says 3 and 4, but we'll stop there. Verse 1, and I, brethren, could not speak unto you as unto spiritual, but as unto carnal, even as unto babes in Christ. I have fed you with milk, and not with meat, for hitherto ye were not able to bear it, neither yet now are ye able. For ye are yet carnal, for whereas there is among you envying and strife, and divisions, and are ye not carnal, and walk as men? For while one saith, I am of Paul, and another, I am of Apollos, are ye not carnal? We see here they had a mistake of competitiveness. Verse 3 and 4 says, for ye not carnal, for whereas there is among you envying and strife and divisions, are ye not carnal, and walk as men? For while one saith, I am of Paul, and another, I am of Apollos, are ye not carnal? We see that there was a competition going on with the people there. Some said, well, I don't believe what you said because I'm of Paul. And they said, but you're with Apollos, and so we're not going to talk to you. And if you do your research and you study there, both those were great guys. They were spot on. They both had the truth. They both taught the same way. And we see that the competition occurred there, and neither one, Paul or Apollos, started it. It was a second-hand group or a third-party group that came in and said, hey, you know what? You're with them and you're with them. You two ought not to be together, and you should be fighting against each other. So let's see who's better. Well, that's like saying our church and whatever other good Baptist church that believes the same way we believe and is out spreading the gospel does the same, says we should be in competition with each other. We're not.
Nope.
When I grew up in church in Michigan, there was another church in town that they were the same, came from the same Bible college I did. They were the same doctrinally. Everything was the same. The pastor preached the same messages that my grandfather preached. He went out soul winning. We went out soul winning. Tried to do the best that we could for the community. And he thought everything was a competition because some people left his church, came to ours. Some left ours, came to his church. And they went back and forth. And every time he would see my grandfather or my father, he thought it was a competition every time. Oh, and we had this many in church. How many did you have? Oh, we had this many saved this week. How many did you have? And finally, after years and years and years, he came to the realization that, you know, we're together. And we got to partner with him and do some things. But it's a shame that that's how church is nowadays. We want to say, oh, well, we're doing better than this guy. Well, that guy's doing the same thing we are. Why not see if we can help it? And so we see that this third party came in and tried to split these folks, saying between Paul and Apollos. But we find that Paul addresses the group, and he gave a couple subpoints here, and I think we've got, there we go. We see the characteristics of their behavior. The characteristics of their behavior, you see the first thing that he found was envy. If you look at verse 3, he said, for ye are yet carnal, for whereas there is among you envy. There was envy. They wanted something that someone else had. They were jealous. Maybe one group looked and said, well, they have Paul as their leader. Woo! What did you hear about Paul? Look at all the things that he's done. Well, he was a bad guy to start with, but now look what he's got. Man, he has turned everything upside down. He's been here, he's been there, he's done this. Look at all these people he's reached. And they say, boy, look at, I wish I was with Paul, but they said I'm with Apollos. Oh, man. And they wanted something. They were envious. They had envy. Then the next thing you see is they had strife. It says they spoke what came out of their hearts. This is one of the things it says. Strife describes what they said. If you read Matthew 12:34, it says, O generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh.
Yeah.
They were saying things that maybe they had an outward approach or an outward appearance, but then what their heart was saying was different. Have you ever seen those people? They put on a good front and they, oh man, we're for you. And then a day later, they're telling somebody else, man, can you believe what that guy said?
Yeah.
That's the heart. Can you believe how that person is? Out of the heart is what the mouth speaketh. Out of the abundance of the heart. So they may look good. They may say, oh yeah, Paul, we're for you. Apollos, yeah, we're for you. Let's go. Let's do this. And then the next day it's, oh, I don't know about that guy. Yeah, I don't know if we should follow him because he did this and this. And so we see that they had envy, they had strife, and then lastly we see they had divisions. They made people choose sides with physicalness, with a physical person over saying, hey, I'm going to stick with what God says. They decided, they said, hey, you need to choose Paul or Apollos. No, let's choose God and let's stick with what he says. It could have very easily happened a couple weeks ago. A great man was stood up here and he taught, and God called him somewhere else. And to your credit, you're here. I'm a different person. Okay? And now, should we have the idea and say, well, oh, I'm with Brother John now because he's here. I mean, well, I was with... No, I'm with God. Brother Tim was with God. Let's follow God. Paul told them, follow me as I follow Christ. And that's what he was saying. He said, hey, don't follow the man, follow the God that the man follows. And that's what we're supposed to do, is we're supposed to point people to God. It's not my job to stand up here and say, hey, you know what? I need you to choose between me or preacher. Because if I find out that that happens, then I'm getting out of the way. Because I'm following preacher too. And if you come here just to hear me and you leave and you don't stay for the main church service, there's something wrong.
Yes.
And I'll be the first to say that, because I'm nothing. And our preacher physically as a man is nothing, but he's a lot more spiritually minded. And he's the one who can lead us. And my job is to say, hey, you come here and I'm going to give you what I believe God has, but that's the main show. So we wanted to get this thing up. There's no division here. And we want to make sure that we follow God, unlike these people here that want to divide between Apollos and Paul. So we see that they had the characteristics of their behavior. Then we see the conclusion about the behavior. If you look in verse number 4, it says, for while one saith, I am of Paul, and another, I am of Apollos, are ye not carnal? The conclusion was this. There was two things. Number one, they were childish. They were childish. They said, hey, as I've just said, you have to choose. That's a childish thing. Okay? When kids get together, you ever watch younger kids? It's, you can't be my friend and her friend. They stop and they say, you have to choose. You can't play with them and with me. Or, what do you want? You can't have this toy and this toy at the same time. You have to choose. My children are great for that right now. It's amazing. They'll have one toy and they fight over it. I say, what are you doing? I have a whole room filled with toys back here that you can play with. You know, why do you have to have the same one? Jake, why do you have to have the same one as your sister? It's a Barbie doll. Go run it over with a truck. I'm trying to teach him. He just doesn't get it. Slam it. Tear the legs off. I don't care. Just do something a boy would do to it. And so we see, though, that they make you choose. They were childish. And the next we see that they were carnal. That word carnal, as Paul even says that, are ye not carnal? That word carnal there means according to the flesh. I put this in there. There was nothing Christ-like about them. If you're carnal, that means that you lack the things of Christ. You're living for the flesh. You're living for yourself. And they were doing that. They had that fleshness and that carnality. I think that's the right word. That was there. They had that carnal instinct to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do what I want, and I'm going to do for me. Forget that. And you see that when they made them choose, they were childish and they were carnal. And we're going to get one more point in here, and then we're going to be done, and we'll cover the next week when we review. But number 2, we said that we see the miracle of cooperation. Number 1, we had the mistake of competitiveness, but then we have the miracle of cooperation. And I like this, because if you look at the start, you see that competition. I like competition because sometimes competition will bring out the best in somebody. If you will push someone and say, hey, at my job, okay, I have to motivate people a lot. And my natural motivation, in case you don't know and you're getting to know me, my natural motivation is competition. If you say, I can do this better than you, I'll say, no, you can't, and I'll find a way to do it. If I have to cheat, I will. Okay, I'm like preacher. I have no shame. I'm here to win. Okay, and so I will do whatever I need to do to beat you. If I'm at work and we're having a contest to see who can bring up the most people on register, I'll send people to the back, even if we're busy, just so I can bring up more people than them. That's bad, I know, that's wrong, but I'm going to do what I can. And so, but I found at work that some people, that does not do a thing for them. If I say, hey, if you have this many, if you ring up this many transactions, I will give you a free milkshake. Man, I'm like, dude, I'm in. Let's do this. I'm all about it for a milkshake. Doesn't do anything for them. They just look at me and they're like, oh, a milkshake. Dude, it's a milkshake. Like, it's 117 degrees outside. Who doesn't want a milkshake? And they just look at me. They go. And I found that some people, if I say, hey, you know what? Today, you might have been second best, but you did a great job. You stayed, you used the right terms, you did everything, and that motivates somebody. And we've got to find that competition is good, but then we see what's better than competition is number 2, the miracle of cooperation. Cooperation. If you read through the rest of it, verse 5 of chapter 3, it says, who then is Paul and who is Apollos, but ministers by whom ye believe, even as the Lord gave to every man. This is Paul talking now. I've planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. That's the key to this whole lesson. Is Paul established there that, you know what, I may have planted something and Apollos came behind and he watered, or maybe, vice versa. Okay, maybe Apollos planted a seed, Paul came behind and said something and that watered it, but it was God who gave the increase. Okay, and so we catch that there as we keep going. It's verse 7. So then neither is he that planteth anything, neither he that watereth, but God that giveth the increase. Say it again. Now he that planteth and he that watereth are one, and every man shall receive his own reward according to his own labor. For we are laborers together with God, and ye are God's husbandry, ye are God's building, according to the grace of God which is given unto me. As a wise master builder, I have laid the foundation, and another buildeth thereon. But let every man take heed how he buildeth thereupon. We see the miracle of cooperation. All of a sudden, Paul has taken it and said, hey, you know what? You want to make a competition. I say this is cooperation. We work together. While you may say, Apollos did this for me, or Paul did this for me, I'm going to turn it and say, we work together and God did this. And Paul flipped it, and then he gives two principles, and we'll be done, two principles about cooperation. The first one here is there was a division of responsibility. There was a division of responsibility. Verses 5 through 8, I won't read them again for time's sake, but that division of responsibility was the fact that Paul says, hey, I planted, Apollos watered. There was two jobs that needed to be done there. And then the third one came from God. God did the amazing part there. God's the one who brought the increase. As we talked last week kind of about the law of the harvest, the sowing and reaping, it's the same thing. Paul says, hey, you know what? I planted the seed. And just like we can take a garden and we can plant the seed. And when we go put water, okay, but you need more than just water and seed to get a plant. Okay, you have to have sunlight. And that's where it says God gives the increase. If you stop and think about it, when we go soul winning, we plant a seed. You hand a track, that's the seed. Okay? And then maybe they don't receive Christ at the time. Okay, that's fine. So they hear the gospel somewhere else. Okay, that's somebody watering. Maybe they hear, if you could find one, a good preacher on the radio. Maybe they see a good sermon on the TV, if you can find one. Maybe they go to a church and they hear a preacher preach, and then all of a sudden, what happens? God gives the increase. He's the sunlight. Okay, if you can take the pun there, the sunlight that comes down upon that seed where we planted and we watered, He gave the increase. Just like the plant in the ground, when that sunlight comes up, the increase comes by the plant that you planted. And we see that God gives the increase there, and that's what Paul's talking about. So he breaks it up. He says there's a few things, roles for our responsibility. We see number one, that our role is that of a servant. Our role is that of a servant. He said that to explain to them, anybody can serve. Anybody can be a servant. You don't have to be somebody special to work for God. You don't have to be a king. You don't have to be of royal fame. You don't have to be the highest of high. Anybody can serve. Anybody from the king down to the peasant can serve. And that's the great thing about working with God, is He'll use anybody.
Yep.
It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what title you hold. It doesn't matter what great abilities you have or what abilities you don't have. God can use anybody. So we're to take a role of a servant. We said next, our relationship is connected. Our relationship is connected. Again, the theme of this whole lesson, we need to work together. We're connected. We're connected to each other, but we're connected to God. But it seems like we don't know what to do, or we don't have anyone to cooperate. Remember, you're connected to God. And who better? I've always heard it said that me and God make an army.
Yeah.
Boy, who better to have you go with than God? And so think that our relationship is connected. But third, we said our rewards are as individuals. Our reward is individuals. And you read there, verse number 8 at the end, it says, now he that planteth and he that watereth are one, and every man shall receive his own reward according to his own labor. It's saying that that job, if all you did was just go out and water the ground in your farm. Maybe you worked for a farmer, and you worked on a farm, and all your job was just to go out and water. That's all you did. Every day, 6 o'clock in the morning, you're out watering. you still get to receive the reward because you helped with that garden. You understand, at the end, it's wrong when that plant comes up for the person who owns it to say, you don't get any because you didn't plant the seed. Well, stop and think about it. If you didn't water it, there would be no plant. And God's trying to get, or Paul was trying to tell the people here to understand that just because you may think that your job was small, you're still going to get something. There will still be a reward for you because you followed through with the ministry there. And then letter B, we see that there was a divine reliance. We know that there was a division of responsibility, but we see there was a divine reliance. And verses 9 and 10 says, we are laborers together with God. Ye are God's husbandry, ye are God's building, according to the grace of God, which is given unto me as a wise master builder. I have laid the foundation, and another buildeth thereupon. But let every man take heed how he buildeth thereupon. We see that God is our teammate. Okay? There was a divine reliance. You and I can only do so much on our own.
Yeah.
Okay? We can go knock every single door in Durham and invite people to church. We can pass out 1 million tracts to people just walking down the road. But if we don't have God's power with it, it's all in vain. Because by myself, I'm not good enough to reach anybody. I can't do it. I can't. You may be able to, and that's fine. If you have a personality that can draw people to you, that's good. But if you don't have God to give them, then it's all in vain too. We've got to understand that there has to be a divine reliance. We have to rely on God for the ministry to stay together. We said this, number one, or underneath that, God is our companion in the work. He wants to be there. He wants to partner with you in what you do. But not only is he the companion, but he's the owner of the work. It's nice. I've worked jobs where I've been in full contact with the owner, with the boss of the company. And sometimes that's good and sometimes it's bad. Okay, if you have to work with your boss all the time and he or she is very demanding or expects a lot, it can be tough because you're always on edge, you're always there. But if you get that boss where you two gel and you go, oh man, this is good. I have enjoyed working with you. I've learned a lot. We've got great results. It makes your work fun. And that's how God is. God is the owner. And while we should have a respectable fear for him, he's fun to work with. If you ever stop and think about all the things that we can do together with God as a companion, but then as the owner, if you need something, you shouldn't have fear to go talk to the boss. Okay? He's there. He wants to give you everything that you have. He's the owner of the job, but also he's the enabler for the work. He gives us the power we need. He gives us the tools that we need to reach people. He gives us the power to reach the people. It's not by our own strength. It's not by anything that we do. It's the fact that God gives it all to us. Just some great thoughts here. If you will stop and look at it, and we're going to go, there's one more point after this that we're going to cover next week, and we'll go through when we get the books. But stop and think about this week.